guys, welcome back. I am in a different room and the floor is just so creaky, so I apologise for that. But you know what? It's just part of the fun, part of renovating your forever home, isn't it? So today we're going to be talking about my printmaking project that is to do with tulips. Now I am doing a similar project within paint and it is coming along as well as you expect, and it's not going to be one of those ones where I kind of slid into a side project of it and then it's become a main project, because my actual other main project is on hold at the moment until I get some more of the materials. But you know what? That's fine. That's absolutely fine. It happens a lot actually. I get carried away with some things. Sometimes I think the artwork is going to be turned into a main project and it turns into a side one, or I just leave it for a few years and I come back to it. I've got quite a few big paintings that are like that, but once again they're on hold because of either art materials or I just don't have the time, but it's more to do with the art materials at the moment. Anyway, you may recognise this print. This print is from my last video when we did the multiple liner prints on top of paper. I did want to say that I didn't want to just do a simple liner print for this project, because even though it is quite nice as still life liner print piece, it's just too basic. It can be so much more, and I felt like a few weeks have gone by and I've finally figured out sort of in the lines of where I want to go. I've done a bit of research, art history research and a bit of artwork research as well. Funny enough, there's not a lot about tulips. There's a few of them, but they're all to do with, well, basically paintings, and obviously that does help my other project, but for this one it's a bit more difficult. So what I've done instead is I've actually gone away and I've created a few backgrounds that I am planning to then print on top of with the liner prints. For now I've only just done one, but I'll quickly show you it. So this is actually freshly printed, hence why it's a bit creased because the blue and the black background was with saturated paper. I've then printed on top with a perspex sheet with white and yellow printing ink. I've made sure that it's gone a bit granulated and a bit not too strong contrasting because I thought it would be a bit too overpowering. But I knew that printing red ink on top of blue or black will be a bit more problematic because it doesn't really show up. However, when you print onto a lighter colour, it's far easier to recognise, and I feel like this kind of way will be a better suited solution of it. However, this one is quite big and I decided to opt for two smaller versions to give it a go. Yes, I know you can't decrease the size of the liner print, but I like to have kind of a test trial as well. So this is only just one process, but I have sort of an idea for all the other prints that I've done on paper to figure out what kind of pattern or composition I've wanted. I've just been using them as test prints, and I'm probably just going to either rip them up to make collages out of, or just print any excess ink onto that paper to then use for something else. Everything will be recycled and everything will come out eventually into something, because I don't like waste, especially when art materials are very expensive. So for this video, we're just going to be printing, that is the floor, not me, onto these two bits of paper. Now I really want to keep this line, but the board I've got is about this big, so it's going to be around this kind of size, and it might turn out a bit landscapey. So, oh, I am going to wet the paper as well. I can just lift that up very quickly. But this time, instead of wetting the paper before I properly press down on this, I'm actually going to spray the paper. It's already transferred a little bit, but it's okay. This will just make it a bit more wet and fluid at the same time. Just gotta make sure it lines up ish. So this bit of perspex is actually a cut off piece from when I framed my mixed media pieces. That's my collage pieces from 2016. Three of them have been framed, and I had 3 offcuts, and they work extremely well for printmaking, especially when I only need a small section, because I've got A4 sizes and then bigger. I tend to use them for collages, whereas this is much more towards the sections that I can just print off normal liner prints. This, because I've got some printing ink, I'm actually going to go and find the leftover prints. With this one, I'm just going to leave it like this and wait for it to dry before I continue printmaking, or before I find another idea to print on top of it, which is probably going to be the case. So once again, I'm just going to saturate the paper. Actually, I might choose a darker one because I feel like if I just use it on a lighter piece, you can only really see major parts. These 2 pieces there. Yeah, that's better. I've probably got one more print out of this before, but it just gives a bit of character. And with these, I'll just keep them to the side and just keep continuously printing any leftover ink on top of them until it gets some sort of encouraging background. Quite dark. Try this. This time I'm probably going to end up standing on these just to get the last bits of ink off. Okay, central. Right, that's the good old days of me printmaking. If any of you have no idea what I'm on about, I will leave a link. So I was very shy on YouTube. Some of the marks you get out of that, that's really stunning. Have this. So that's what's left over of the ink. I'll let that one dry. And then you can see it hasn't completely covered it, but it's added some texture onto the paper, which again I'll just put to the side and wait for it to turn into something, whether I draw on top of it or do anything else. So I've got quite a few bits that I just tend to print on top and then do some form of artwork on top as well. Okay, so there we have some more printing. I know it's not a lot of work happening in this video, but it is a very important process because this is where I start to dwindle and get lots of little tingly feelings about where I want to kind of go. Testing and printing is incredibly important to make sure it's also dry, because the type of lino prints I'm going to be pasting on top of this, it does mean that it will accumulate into something. I don't know what it might be, but it will be something unusual and weird. It is sort of a similar process that I did with some of my still lifes, however, the approach to it is completely different. And once again, once I've got to that stage of where I sort of know what I'm doing, but also still quite open in terms of what I want to be able to print, that is when I'm going to be doing a lot more artist research and taking it slower at a time. In terms of my artist practice, I tend to do a few days of lots of actual physically printing, drawing, anything. Then I'll take a week at most to do some artist research, whether it to be looking at paintings, looking at art, films, games, anything to do with the genre, and kind of going from there, because it can be rather hard to just stop, and I feel like if I just keep going with the practical, I will either mess up or destroy it or do something completely random. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this process and this artwork making. It is, like I said, it's a very important process, but it seems like a lot of work for just one simple line, but it does count towards the end, trust me, I've done this a lot. If you like, in my description box there are links to all my social medias and also my eBay salon account, which is where you'll find all my artworks that I feature on my channel, plus a couple of extras. There's also a PayPal donation page. If you'd like to make a donation, that'd be greatly appreciated. There's also my Patreon. If you'd like to join me on that, that'd be greatly appreciated. If you can't do any of that, don't worry about it. I completely understand. Please just like and subscribe so I can become a full-time artist and enjoy the free artworks that I am able to supply you to. But until then, I shall see you guys later.